Um, their blood glucose stabilizes. They don't get obese. I could go on and on. But when we looked a little deeper, especially when we looked at properties of the immune system and we looked at the red blood cells, there were definitely indicators that these interventions um, are not universally good.
Hmm.
And I think, whenever you manipulate a complex system in any way, you're going to have good and bad, right?
Yeah. And maybe something important to keep in mind as we go through some of the details is, the mice in these groups did have lifespan effects. So 40% calorie restriction resulted in quite a substantial increase in lifespan. But as you said, and as we'll keep in mind as we go through some of these biomarkers and other things, I want to emphasize too that these mice are living in assisted living for their entire lives. They don't
Oh,
have to worry
yeah.
about dense packing in large groups that might result in pathogen transmission. They don't have to worry about getting eaten by an owl or a coyote or a predator. And so I would imagine that some of the things that we talk about, even though these mice live longer with these dietary restrictions, such mice under such conditions, if sort of transposed into the wild, might actually live shorter lives for various reasons we can imagine.
This is the generalizability question.
Mm-hmm.
I can say that under these conditions, the dietary restriction extends lifespan. You were right. There are no predators. There are no pathogens. They live in a clean facility. We do house them in large groups because they're
Mm-hmm.
social. They like to be, not packed in, but they like to live close to one another. Um, yeah, they're healthy mice,
Mm-hmm.
and they're healthy mice because they get a good diet and we take care of them. Veterinarians look at them every month, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. So getting into some of the results here, yeah, can you give us just a little bit more detail on how some basic measures changed across the lifespan in the different groups, body weight and body composition, adiposity, things like that?
Yeah, we saw some interesting differences between caloric restriction and intermittent fasting. And the one that really struck me is that mice who are feeding ad lib, so all you can eat, which mice self-regulate, they do a good job. They have healthy diets.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to grow and they gain lean mass almost throughout their entire lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
And the intermittent fasting mice, despite their weekly deprivation, if you would, gain lean mass. They lose some fat mass, and so they're leaner, but they don't lose that muscle. They don't get smaller.
Hmm.
Caloric restriction mice lose everything. They lose lean mass. They get smaller. That's one thing we noticed.